Hello humans. Today I want to talk about an early form of folding pocket knife known as the friction folder. So the earliest forms of the friction folder and pocket knives at all were found at a dig in Hallstatt, Austria. And the reason why friction folders and folding knives in general were such a massive historical sort of advancement in knife technologies comes from the fact that early humans had to carry a lot of stuff on their person, especially Normannic or um, sort of animal tenders who were living away from encampments, who were living essentially on the open plains or on the roads, as you would sort of say modernly. And these people needed to carry everything they had on their person, everything they would need on their person. And the reason why that is such a big deal is because a full size knife is going to take up a fair amount of room on your person. And the goal of minimizing the size of everything you carry was very important. And it still is pretty important today. It's why people buy smaller, more compact wallets. It's the same reason why people like, slimmer, more comfortable phones, more comfortable headphones that fit in their pockets better. All of this stuff comes down to the fact that stuff you need to keep on your person should be small and easy to carry. And the big advantage of friction folders is that they are significantly smaller, require less resources to carry, and have all the same benefits of carrying a fixed blade knife. So let's start off with the benefits. When you're doing pretty much anything in that situation, you're going to need a knife, from food prep to animal processing, potentially even animal killing, some types of animal self-defense, camp making, cutting wood to make smaller items like traps or even feathering to make fire. All of these things are going to require a knife and the ability to cut leather, skin, meat, potentially vegetables, small plants, and stuff like rope. And it doesn't actually matter how strong your knife is in most of these situations. So the other big benefit, and these all come together to fit as to why most people, or why some people of this time would have very much preferred friction folding or generally folding knives over the competition of fixed blades, comes from the fact that in order to carry a fixed blade around regularly, what you're going to need is a sheath and space. A friction folding knife can take up just about half as much space as a fixed blade with the same edge length. Potentially even less with something like this, not having much of a handle, whereas a fixed blade may require one simply for, making the manufacturing process. Anyways, and the big advantages and the way that friction folders had an edge in this way comes down to you don't need a sheath to carry this. The edge is completely covered. You will not cut yourself on a folded knife, right? With the edge covered and hidden, you're not worrying about potentially cutting yourself or cutting up valuable things that are in your bag. You're not even worried about potentially cutting up your bag, which you may be if you'd put a loose fixed blade knife in the same position. Other advantages are going to come down to simply weight. So a smaller friction folding or any type of folding knife, specifically friction folders in this context, is going to be most likely lighter than a fixed blade knife of the same size. And the reason behind this is because the handle is much less solid and there's less metal involved in its making. Obviously, whoops, I dropped a knife. Obviously, a full metal knife like this is going to weigh a little bit more than a bone counterpart of the same size or antler counterpart of the same size, but you're getting the added strength of metal. That's diverging into the specific benefits, which I'm not going to get into too much, but historically, there is a huge benefit to having a folding knife. It simply being smaller is, in and of itself, a huge benefit to the people of the time. And we see this throughout history. Ancient Roman legionaries used to carry a friction folding multi-tool style blade in order to limit the amount of full length and full weight tools they had to carry. Because you have to remember, a Roman legionary had to carry his full kit on his person when they were marching. The ability to lower the weight and lower the bulk and size of whatever you're carrying using a folding mechanism is incredibly useful, making it just a little bit more practical, especially for the early time periods. So early friction folding knives were made usually using a metal blade of some type, obviously, and bone or antler handles. Carve out the inner handle, put a pin through both your blade and your handle, and boom, you have a fairly safe, fairly reliable knife. And the reason why I say fairly safe, despite the fact that, this blade can theoretically flop around, is these tabs up top here. This unit also has a tab. The benefit being, when you're holding this knife, you are putting pressure downwards onto that tab, which is going to prevent this knife from being able to fold inwards on you. Other options include sort of pseudo choils, like this knife right here, where when you're fully covering both the tab and the choil, this blade is not going to be able to close inwards. I'm putting a fair amount of pressure on that now. But you can still close it up very, very easily. So for early humans, the advantages of a folding knife were not early humans. For ancient civilizations, the advantages of a folding knife were pretty severe, especially if you're going to be spending all day on your feet having to carry around the stuff you need to survive. And it makes a lot of sense that this tradition has sort of followed into today, with modern folding knives having much of the exact same benefits, simply with safer mechanisms than these ancient friction folders. Stay safe and have fun out there, guys. Cheers.